away we go. I want to welcome everyone to the post-draft show, the 2022 post-draft show. I'm Albert Sitt, commissioner, joined by
Zach Casson,
quarterback of the Buffalo
Bills.
Zach, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for bringing us in. So we got a lot to talk about. A lot of teams, a lot of guys texting me, what do you think of my team? And we're going to let you know today. Zach, we know Zach, he's not shy of words. He's not going to be scared to say anything he feels on his mind. So let's get into it right away. The first team we want to talk about is Ellie Siegel's Baltimore Ravens. Siegel, rookie captain this year, MVP of the league last year in his first year in the league. Got a shot to be a captain. He took the opportunity, and let's see the team he put together. So he was drafted first round, third overall. His first pick, Zachy Citrin. So what do you think about that pick, Zachy Citrin, second round pick?
I think Zachy Citrin's a great defender. To be honest with you, I think he's a little bit overrated in the league. I think he's great. I just think there's a couple of guys. I think Josie's better. Danny M's better. But, Siegel's taking a chance with him. I just think that he went a little early there. Little early in the draft. But let's see what he does this year.
I think he's relying on him to be his number one corner. He won Defensive Player of the Year. So Defensive Player of the Year now with the former MVP. That's a nice combo.
I will give him this. He did pick me off. So he read me on one play against the Packers. And last year, the Packers weren't a great team, but they were always, honestly, our toughest challenge. So maybe he's not overrated. That's just what I think. But a lot of people think he's going to be great. So we'll see.
Siegel last year had Marty as his number one receiver, which some people are crediting Marty almost for Siegel's numbers. This year it's going to be different. Zachy's his number one. Right, that's a huge drop from Marty to Zachy.
Yeah.
How do you think Siegel will be able to adapt to that?
I mean, I think Siegel's like an all-around playmaker. I think he runs out of the pocket too much. Maybe that's because I'm not mobile, but I think he's a great playmaker. I think he'll make plays. I don't think their team is good enough to win the league, though. I think you need an all-star receiver, and when you're the second best quarterback in the league, it's tough to beat the number one quarterback in the league, definitely.
It's like, well, I won't ask you who the number one quarterback is. Yeah, we'll get there later.
We know who that is, guys.
So in third round, he took his own guy, Mo Dowek, out of Lakewood. A question mark. Most guys didn't know him coming into the draft. A lot of guys said, I'm not drafting him because I don't know who he is. I know that Meyer Casson knew him for sure. I know Shimmy Cohen, who was in the draft, knew him for sure. So there were guys who do know him. I remember him from the softball league I played in, being a shorter, speedier guy. So maybe that's what he finds here. But to me, it's a very similar pick to Zachy Citrin. He has no height from his receivers now. Zachy and Mo, both shorter guys. I don't know where he's going to get that height. And I'm very concerned about that, honestly. I think with Siegel, one thing
It depends if Siegel's going to guard also. Like last year, he was a safety. So it depends if he's going to guard someone. So, I mean, if Siegel and Zachy are going to guard people, I think they'll be good defensively. But I don't think they have such a good line, to be honest with you.
So they have fourth round, he took Rocky 30th overall, which, in my opinion, was way too early. Rocky's a great player, but he's a great piece. He's not a playmaker.
I'm going to go against you on that. I think last year, the team he was on didn't use Rocky right. I've seen him play before. Kid's a beast. I think that if he was with us, he'd definitely be great. I think this is a bold prediction. I think Rocky is better than Zachy. I'll stick to that the whole season if you use him right.
Better receiver or better player?
Just better to have on your team if you're going to need a guy to play a tight end spot, especially with this team with no real offensive line. I love Kaz, but he's not an offensive line guy. So, I mean, to have a guy at tight end that can also be a receiver as good as, most, I would say, second and third round guys.
You think Ellie's going to have to use Rocky big time in order for them to be successful?
I think Rocky's going to be huge for them in their success if they use him correctly. Last year, no one gave him a shot, so right. I think this year is going to be his breakout year.
Well, I was talking to him, and he wants to prove himself this year. He, like you said, he didn't feel like he got a fair shot last year. He was at the bottom of the depth chart, but I think he's a player. I just think 30 was a little bit too high. I mean, I see guys that went after him, Josie, Michael Harari, to say too. I mean, that's on your team.
Yeah.
But there's guys there that I think could have been a better pick. And then that leads me to my their next pick of Kaz at 35. Again, I felt that was a little bit too early. I think that Siegel didn't, sort of look through the list and see the guys that were available, or maybe he didn't know. maybe that's the.
I think it was early, but I believe that Kaz brings good luck onto the team. So
You played with Kaz a little bit early last year.
I love playing with Kaz. I used to play with Kaz ball on DSN. He's great vibes. I think he's a great guy to come on the team.
He's a team first player,
and he does not complain. And he's old, man, and he comes every single week and he puts his heart out. So, and also if you use him correctly, like when we played with him in the beginning on the Vikings last year before they made a horrible trade, the Vikings.
What was that trade? Who were they trading at?
Trade Tamam, which I think Tamam's a good quarterback, but
we'll get to him later.
We'll get to that after. But I think I use Kaz in certain games, like just for like extra points and just like 2-yard passes. No one even realizes sometimes that he's on the field, and you could just dip him the ball and he can move and he can catch. You're not going to throw him a 40-yard long ball, but he's a guy that no one is going to look out for.
And he's a smart player, and
he knows his place.
He knows the game. He's been playing forever. He will bring the veteran leadership to the locker room. Most of these guys on the younger side. I mean, you have Kaz, and then you have the next oldest guy, Siegel. I don't know, he's probably 26, something like that. But then all young guys, and then you get to Saul Towell, who thought he would get a quarterback shot. He wasn't sure. Down year last year after the 0-6 year the year before, so it wasn't guaranteed for him. But he wanted another chance to prove himself. He didn't get it. Siegel was thrilled to have Saul, and Saul's been raving about his hands. He has the best hands. He won't drop a ball.
I think Saul will be good.
You think Saul?
I mean, he's going to have the fourth guy on him at all times. So, I mean, last year, maybe his throwing wasn't the best, but he was able to run around the pocket. So
I agree with that. His mobility is fine.
I don't think he'll be a bad receiver. I think he'll be pretty solid all around. I mean, again, it's all about, in football, it's all about how you use the guys. Like, no one's locking someone up with 2 inches of space.
Right.
And I don't think there's any quarterback in the league that can throw in a 2-inch window besides me. So I think that if you use him correctly, like in football, you don't need to have every guy to be amazing, It just has to be where if you use your guys correctly and see, it's all about the mismatch. So,
and I think Siegel does a great job of that.
Yeah, and I think he'll have guys that have a lot of mismatches. Like, as long as you acknowledge those mismatches, I think that.
And then he rounded his team out with Victor Cohen, who's, I guess, going to be his 1A. He'll have probably Kaz at tight end, and then Victor Cohen, who's a big kid. A lot of people have been raving about him. I've heard that this guy's going to be the most underrated guy. I've heard comparisons to Meat. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't seen him play. We'll find out. But he'll be his go-to lineman there. So that rounds out Siegel's squad. So just quickly going through it again. We have Siegel at quarterback, Zachy and Mo at probably the receiving spots, Rocky towards the slot, a little bit bigger, and then Saul will be his fourth receiver with Kaz and Victor Cohen on the line. I want you to give a grade on this team.
I think they're middle of the road, average team. But I mean, I look at all the teams in the league, and I think that anybody can beat anybody. I think the talent got a lot better, but I think without an all-star receiver on your team, I don't see you being, past average.
Right. So you see them as a playoff team,
especially
on the
that
edge.
they don't have their offensive line's not the best, and when they're playing teams with great offensive lines, like let's say I don't have such a good offensive line team right now, but at the end of the day, I have a guy where I could throw it to Robert and throw it up to him. Whereas if Siegel's getting pressured and he already lost his run and he has to throw that ball up, you don't have that A guy that you can rely on. So I think they'll win games. I just think they'll be a middle of the road average team. I don't think they'll be better than that.
I agree with you exactly on that. I think that exactly what you're saying. Siegel last year on the run was able to hit Marty 50 yards down the field. I don't know where that comes from. If Zachy Citron can be that guy, then they'll be great. But how is Zachy Citron going to go up against Robert Tobias? How is he going to go up against Marty Anteby, against Al Sultan, and be able to beat these guys one-on-one? I just don't see it happening. I do think Siegel's good enough to get them into the playoffs. I'll give this team a B-. I think they get in the playoffs. I don't see them getting a bye, but I think Siegel carries them into the playoffs.
Yeah. Could be possible. I just think they're going to be middle of the road. It's hit or miss. I don't think they're going to be a number one team in the league.
All right. So that's the Baltimore Ravens.